Right, very good evening to everyone on this Monday night. And you know what that means? It's Sim Race South Africa time. We are here with our second week of the new year. Last week we were racing the Sim TC series, the Audi Sport TT Cup, which was a new car. And tonight we're also in a new car with the simGP series, which is our open wheeler sort of formula series. And we've got a brand new car for you this season. We have the Formula RSS Supreme that was released late last year that we've decided to pick up and use for this season. So yeah, hope you're all ready for something new. Here at simRace South Africa, I'm Ryan Hill. I'll be taking you through tonight's proceedings. I'm going to be covering Division 1 of the simGP series, which will see the top 22 drivers following what we call HLQ, which is hot lap qualifying, which has taken place over the last week. Essentially, it opened on Monday, just after midnight, and closed on Sunday evening at about 8 o'clock. So yeah, without further ado, let me take you to the track right now. We're currently in overtime of practice. We're about to start our qualifying session, which is going to last for 15 minutes, and this will determine the grid, essentially, for the start of the race. Tonight's race, we're in for a 1 hour 1 hour coverage. That's a little bit longer than last season's open wheeler races. We've also changed some of the setup and rules in force this season. For instance, we now have a pit window that is going to cover somewhat what's basically the middle of the race, but 10 minutes into the race it opens, and 10 minutes before the race it closes. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and drivers will need to do obviously at least one stop, changing either tires or fuel or both. So let's have a look. Obviously, you can see what's happening on track right now. It's looking very white, and that is obviously a little bit of a hint at to what's going on with the weather. Let's bring it onto a trackside TV camera and plug in some audio, and then you guys can have a look and see what's happening right now. Let's see if I can find someone out on pit. There we can see the cars all lined up on the grid. We've got a double pit lane formation right now. Which is at Zandvoort, modded track for AC, which allows us to run up to 36 pit boxes, up from the standard 18, I think it is, in the default track by Kunos. It's exactly the same track, this mod track. It's simply just adding the ability to have additional cars on track. We can see the Merc, which is essentially my TV car at the front there, but we won't be utilizing anything like safety cars or pace cars in this. That's just literally so that I can bring you guys a TV broadcast. We'll wait for the overtime clock to tick down. It shouldn't be too long. While that's happening, what we can do is we can go over some of the weather forecasts. So let's have a look at that. Obviously, as we can see here, it's very foggy, or light fog, but certainly quite predominant. We've got 11 o'clock in the morning in Zandvoort, and it's 5 degrees ambient temperature. Roadside track temp is 4 degrees, so it's just a little one degree cooler than that, as we see the cars bolt out of the pits eager to get their laps down. But yeah, a little bit more about the track as well. It's a Circuit Zandvoort. It was previously formerly known as Circuit Park Zandvoort until about 2017. It's actually it's located in the dunes north of Zandvoort in the Netherlands, of course, near the North Sea coastline. Most of you will know if you follow the Formula 1 quite closely, is that it made a return to the Formula 1 calendar last year as the location of the revived Dutch Grand Prix. So yeah, we decided to take it out in our calendar this season and give it a go with these new cars as our first track out on the calendar. I'll quickly bring up the HLQ times. That's the hot lap qualifying times that are referred to earlier in the week. Just showing you the top 10 right now, so you can get an idea. We can see a lot of new names on track, which is quite nice. Emile de Villiers is new, so welcome to him. Fridge Findley is new as well, so big hello to him. Daniel Haynes up in P10 there makes a return to the driving seat of simRace South Africa after a little bit of a hiatus, so it's good to see him back on track, and these new cars enticed him to join, which is always good. So you can see the best practice laps of these drivers, they're all around the 116, 117s. The hot lap qualifying conditions that were set were actually quite warm. I believe ambient temperature was around about 24 degrees Celsius with the track temperature up to 30 degrees. So what we see here today is that it's much colder. And what I think you're going to see is, as soon as the first drivers sort of bank their times, is that those times should be dramatically reduced. I'm expecting to see 116s, at least 115s dipping into for the top tier drivers. So let's see what's happening. Of course, we're also getting a good look at some of the new liveries, some of the new teams. Sas van der Westhuizen currently on board here with you on the trackside camera, sporting the new Grumpy Monkey livery. He's joined that team after leaving NSIR, which is very good to see. Adrian Nell, of course, making a return for SimRace Extreme from Namibia. Byron Thompson, Philip Minnar, of course, also making a jump from Flying Gypsies into Grumpy Monkey this year. Grumpy Monkey, also one of our new sponsors. Thanks very much to them for hosting a bunch of the practice as well as HLQ service for us. Carrot Pretorius riding for SimRace Extreme as well. Tian Elof is another new name on the grid. We've got Mike LaRue currently sitting in the pits for BWR. That's Black Widow Racing. Fridge, of course, he is racing for Team Lotus Register, TLR, not to be confused with Team Leech Racing, who are also racing with SimRace South Africa this season. Just going further down here, we've got Hein on track, we've got Jeremy de Villiers. The de Villiers, also new drivers joining us this season, Jeremy as well as Emil. So good to see them out and immediately on some quick lap times. Charles Marais there as well. Rob van der Heerden makes a return for SimRace Extreme. Maritz Krookamp as well. Byron Thompson, Lee Forster. Of course, Nick Hudson as well, who's also made the jump to Grumpy Monkey, leaving Point Blank Racing. And see Hannes van Beek out on track as well right now in the BWR livery as well. Currently seeing about 19 cars or names on the leaderboard. I do know that we have 22 currently in the service. I do believe that everyone has made it and that no one's had issued their apologies. So that's good to see a nice full grid. We should be in for a good race. Also, just a big hello for everyone who's tuned into the live stream. Thanks very much for joining. Good to see you. It's good to see some of the regular names as well. Sharon's coming there, shining for Marius. How's it? Hilton, how's it going? Yergeldnes, Tinus Elof. Must be shining for Tian, I guess. How's it going? Wayne. Brett Krookamp himself, shouting for Grumpy Monkey, of course. Yeah, good evening, chaps. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good one. I can tell a little bit more about the car just while we race. So this Formula RSS Supreme, essentially hailed from the top tier of Japanese Formula racing. It currently sits just behind Formula Hybrid levels of track performance, comparable to both, the real and sim racing world, with outstanding cornering speeds. What you'll find is that the car this season, compared to the Formula 3 we ran last season, feels just so more glued to the track, I'd say. The cornering speeds that you can fling around and actually hold onto grip is quite remarkable. So it's got a powerful 543 horsepower single turbocharged engine. One of the other new things that is equipped with this car that we didn't have last season is push to pass. So the P2P system to enhance overtaking, also useful for defending, depending on your strategy. A little bit about that right now. So it's essentially you get 10 activations, which can be used during practice but not qualifying. So you can see while we've got another 8 or so minutes left of qualifying, they're not actually able to use push to pass at all. When the race starts, each driver will be refreshed with 10 push to passes. And we will see the counts. So you can see the counts of push to passes on the tower itself as the drivers make their way around, and you can also see it on the little gear indicator on the bottom of your screen, but it won't reflect now during qualifying. So I'll let you know once it's in race what to look out for. The cars themselves, essentially they're, I think it's a Dallara, they're modeled after one of the Dallara's, one of the Dallara cars, SF19, I believe, which is in use in the Super Formula Championship Series, which is essentially a type of Formula racing and top level of single-seater racing in Japan. So yeah, quite a popular series in real life that these cars are modeled after. I'm going to quickly hop to an official hot lap guide and tour of the track that we have, presented by our very own Nick Hodson. So without further ado, here we go.
Alright, good evening everybody and welcome to round 1 for the 2022.1 season here at Sim Race SA for the GP season. Of course, we have made a change and we're in the Formula RSS Supreme for the season, and we are of course at Zandvoort. Alright, flying across the start-finish line to begin our qualifying lap. Hard on the brakes at the 50, turn the car in. I use third here because the car seems to have a huge amount of torque, and that absolutely slings me into turn 2 in fourth gear, down to second through this almost carousel-like corner and flinging our way up and over and out. And this is possibly a place you might see a few P2Ps used in the race. That bump there is very dangerous, watch out for it, and fling the car through this right-hander, absolutely flat chat, and then just flicking down into fifth, carrying as much speed as you possibly can through this series of right-handers, again using third gear and all that torque to get out of the corner. Through this left-hander now, one of the only on the track, and powering down now into the chicane, looking for our braking point just by the sausage curbs. There it is, flinging the car in. Careful not to hit that sausage curb too hard, it will throw you off out the chicane. We come almost at the end of the lap now. We're going to fling the car through this last right-hander, get on the power nice and early, make sure you don't run all the way out and into the gravel. That will end in disaster. Another bump to contend with, and across the line we go for a 16.299.
Sorry about that, guys. A bit of a hiatus. I was on the wrong scene. As I was saying, just having a look at Philip Minnaar here on board. The final 2 minutes of qualifying. As you can see, quite a few drivers improving. I'm just seeing Karen Pretorius bump up to third. A lot of new names right near the top. But currently Adrian Nell still holding the point to the 159. We've just seen Tian Elif go into the 159.7. There's a big accident as Philip over there. But yes, times will continue to drop as the grip levels of the track improve. Starting off with around about 96% of optimal grip at the beginning of the practice session today, and taking about 22 laps to improve by just 1%. But remembering that does transfer between practice, quali, and race. So we will see the times continue to drop further and further. See our little track map on the right hand side there, as drivers generally quite good at being spaced out during qualifying, which is what you want. You want to make sure that you're exiting the pits at the right time to not put yourself out into traffic. Get the best opportunity to put in your best lap time. Just less than a minute now of qualifying. Jackie, how's it? Welcome. What is the track temperature? So just a quick reminder on the weather forecast for anyone who's joining late. It is cold, as you may imagine. You can see it's quite snowy out there visually, of course. 11 o'clock in the morning right now, 5 degree ambient, 4 degrees track temperature, so extremely cold. Not much wind to speak of, that's not really going to make a difference. But yeah, much colder than what drivers were used to during hot lap qualifying. The session there earlier today was a bit of a freak summer with 24 degrees ambient and 30 degrees track temperature. But I believe that drivers are actually going to feel better on the colder temperatures. It allows them to manage the tires a little better. They don't overheat. They can run the soft compound won't burn up. Generally get the much quicker lap times, as we see Mark van Rensburg put his car up to first position now with a 1:15.867. Fantastic drive. So I wonder if I can find a good screenshot for you on the front side of the car. Just below the T-cam, sort of just behind the halo, you'll see a green light. Those lights are going to be active when drivers have activated their push to pass. So it's quite nice, if you're a driver yourself and you're looking in your mirrors, you can see that activated. You can know if someone's actually using the push to pass. So you can also see it visually behind the car. If I can find somebody still out on track here, Philip, and just look behind him. There are some lights in the back of the car that will be shining up. Currently they're off, so you won't see it. So again, if you're following another car, you can actually see if the driver has activated his push to pass, or maybe it's finished activating and is currently on its cooldown period. So Philip slides it around the track. That is essentially it. We have about a 53-second countdown now before the grid formation. This just allows the drivers to go back into their setups, load their race setups, think about their strategy, make any last minute adjustments. And we're going to go to a quick 30-second ad break, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back on track. As we can see, the server just reminding drivers to add minimum of 1 liter of fuel to do a tire change, or do a tire change while the pit window is open. We see the cars lining up on the grid. I'm going to try and find a goodish slot somewhere around about P5 or so and see as they go through. So just to recap on the grid there, we can see Mark van Rensburg for racing for Black Widow Racing there in their livery, putting it on P1. Just behind him, Adrian Nell racing for SimRace Extreme. Tien Elof, in third, and Carrot Pretorius also for SimRace Extreme, rounding off the top sort of 2 rows of the grid. You can see the lights coming on when they'll go red. Once the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red lights, we'll wait for them all to go off and we'll be racing. Away they go. Mark is immediately trying to defend against the SimRace Extreme guys. It looks like Adrian has got a massive advantage coming around the first corner and immediately gets the jump on Mark van Rensburg. We'll have to see if he can slingshot his way around. Looks like a couple of swaps in positions down the field. I'm going to try and zoom out a little bit. We see a car sliding over there. I think that might be, well, there's a SimRace Extreme car going sideways for sure. A couple of casualties. It looks like Joshua van Rensburg may have got caught up on that as well. Heading back up to the front, just having a quick look at Adrian Nell, who seemed to got away very cleanly. Mark van Rensburg in second, Philip Munn on third, as the rest of the field follows. Looked like Rob van der Heever is going very slowly on track. Oh, he almost catches another car, just trying to keep his car out of the way of everyone else. I'm not sure what his trouble was there. And otherwise, generally, a good start by everyone else who's managed to get away. It looks like Hannes van Beek, unfortunately, has teleported himself to the pits and maybe has sustained some hard damage there and is going in for a repair. Back to the middle field here, we see Joseph van Rensburg trying to make his way back up the pack after having that initial spin. Couple more positions. We can see already drivers have been utilizing their push to pass. In the tower, you can see it's not exactly 100% clear, but after the driver's name, after the lap gap counter, there's a little digit which will occasionally flash orange and then blue when it is charging again. Otherwise, if it's in grey, it's stable and not in use. That is the push to pass, of course. So you can see Adrian Nell up front. So started with 10, is already down to 8 push to passes. So certainly making use of those, trying to get build a good gap ahead of P2, Mark van Rensburg right now. He still has all 10 push to passes in the bag. Further away down the field, we see cars sort of settling into a train. We've seen Pretorius just make his way past. It looks like Fridge Findlay has had an incident. He's dropped a couple positions down. Not 100% sure what happened to them there. Sass making his way around in P14 currently. For Grumpy Monkey. We are on lap 2 and 57 minutes to go. So we see drivers now putting in their full bests and starting to hopefully fall into a rhythm. Hanfanika in P6 is charging through the push to passes. Currently got 7 left, running for Skytrim Racing. Daniel Haynes currently in P15, also making a bit of a recovery drive, I suspect. Nick Hudson as well, just trying to make his way back up the field. I see Mike LaRue currently in the pits, not entirely sure what happened there. Carrot Pretorius has just made a move on Lee Forster. Of drivers making their way through the midfield here. There's a little bit of a pack. The head of this train is Joseph van Rensburg. Let's see if we can go on board with him. So he has Lee Foster directly in front of him, just behind. Can't really see in the mirrors, but very close. Let's see if he can get a good draft on Lee Foster here. Pulls outside, heading down to T1. We'll see if he can hold this position. Looks like a good move. He's got that stuck. That move was made, but there's still a bit of a train following him now. He's going to have quite a lot of pressure coming from behind. Ooh, a lot of cars running wide there, and someone's into the wall. I think that is Lee Foster for TLR Racing. The Lotus Register. Oh, he's having all sorts of trouble. He's just ramped the curbing, and I think he may have gone into the wall there as well. He's the runoff area, just trying to rejoin the track safely. Marius Skuman, meanwhile, has just put a move on Hein van Niekerk, who's actually dropped 2 places down, so he must have also had a little bit of a moment there. Drivers may be finding the conditions a little bit tricky out there. Jackie, you've asked in chat if there's sleet with this temperature and fog on track, and can you feel it in the wheel? So not really. What we have done to sort of simulate the lower grip conditions though is have the starting grip levels for the service set to a little bit lower, 96%, and then incrementally increase with essentially every lap that goes by until they're eventually 100% optimal. You can see the front light blinking there of Karat Pretorius as we follow Hein just behind him. The push to pass being active. And we see Daniel Haynes dive into the pits now, possibly to repair some damage because the pit window is not yet open. Back up to the top now. We've got Philip Minnaar in 3rd position. He's got Mark van Rensburg just in front of him and followed very closely by Emile de Villiers. There's Grumpy Monkey livery standing out quite well on track. Mark van Rensburg now just feeling the pressure. He's just tapped into his push to pass and his activation's down. So I think he might feel a little bit threatened by Philip now coming down the main straight, getting a bit of a draft. As we see Lee Forster about to exit the pits. Daniel Haynes as well is, I was going to say back on track. Yeah, there he is, rejoined. Let's see if he can do well on his recovery drive, essentially back up. The closest battle on track right now is these sort of top 3-4 cars. Adrian Nell is somewhat scampering away in 1st position, 5 laps down with a 5-second gap between himself and Mark van Rensburg for VWR. Has used quite a few push to passes to get to this position, so that may be just part of his strategy, trying to build a bit of a gap right now, push, perhaps do an undercut. We'll have to see what he does with the pit stops. Let's go back on board with Emile de Villiers and see if we can put some pressure and find a way around Philip Minnaar, just coming down the 1st main straight. You can see how the car is running very defensive on the inside line here. Look at that draft though, the gap difference. He is using push to pass. We'll see if he can make that move stick as they come around T1. He's trying to go around the outside. Philip's hugging that inside line, which will mean that Emile will have the inside line for the following corner. He's made that move done. That's done. So some great racing there. Very clean, good overtakes. A little bit further down, Hannes van Veek making a move on Daniel Haynes, has gone back into the pits again. I'm not sure if he's struggling with some sort of mechanical hardware issue, but that's deeply unfortunate. I'm sure extremely frustrating for him. We'll have to hear from him afterwards what's gone wrong. Back onto this train at the top here as we see Philip Minnaar eyeing up Emile de Villiers and Mark Rensburg, trying to get past each other, and not too far behind them as well. The SimRace Extreme car that we can see in the background there, which I believe is Marius Skuman, who's made his way back up, as we see him putting a lot of pressure on Jeremy de Villiers here. And unfortunately, I've just seen Daniel Haynes is disconnected from the service. He's retired the car. Hard luck to you, Daniel. Better luck next time. There we can see the push to pass blinking of Morris as he tries to get the overtake done on the inside. He slingshots around and makes that move look very easy. So talking about the DNFs, it's a good opportunity to mention that there are 6 races in the season. At the end of the season, we take the best 5. So essentially there's 1 drop round. So, it allows drivers to, if they have a bad day, like Daniel right now, it's not too bad, you can still make up for it. Another one just allows drivers the benefit, of missing a race if they're sick, or if they go away on holiday, or if there's troubles with ESCOM, that sort of thing. At least there's a little bit of a buffer. Pit window's just open, by the way. So we'll see if anyone's diving into the pits now within the next 40 minutes. Sorry, Daniel, what went wrong? Back up to Philip Minot at the top end, number 4. He's looking to put pressure on Emile de Villiers. He's just put in his personal best of the race, so he's certainly trying to push it. As we see Daniel Haynes reporting back that he had bad damage. The gearbox stopped working even after repair. So that was clearly very significant, and unfortunately had to retire the car. We go on board again with Philip just so we can see how this battle is developing. As you can see the insane cornering speeds of this Formula RSS Supreme. Drivers able to chuck it through the corners and just maintain some crazy levels of grip. Go on board now with Emile de Villiers just looking through the rear camera at Philip Minot. Just see how close he gets under braking. Sure, tantalizingly licking his lips as he's about to approach the final corner. Let's just see if he activates his push to pass. We'll see the green light blinking if he does. But Emile's opened up quite a bit of a gap. I think they're both actually using their push to passes right now. Emile just trying to defend against Philip Minot. Lives another lap without Philip threatening for now. Getting tantalizingly close there at the back of Mark van Rensburg does Emile de Villiers. Not doing very well to hang on to P2 at the moment, looking pretty strong. He's, unfortunately these drivers in P2, 3 and 4, they're all sort of fighting and defending against each other, which only means that Adrian Nel is continuing to enjoy some free air, so to speak, and is continuing to widen his gap up in front, which was 5 seconds just a few minutes ago, up to 8 seconds now. Quite an aggressive curve usage there from Mark. So we'll see again him rounding the final corner as we speak, trying to get a lot of speed through. Put the hammer down, down the main straights. Ooh, weaving, trying to break the toe perhaps. As we see just behind Emile and Philip looking a little edgy between each other as well. A little bit further down the field again to Marius Skuman. He's looking up at the back of Tian Ilof. We've got a change in position here. Hein van Niekerk. It actually looks like Jeremy de Villiers is... Oh, we just caught the tail end of him there being off track, and unfortunately had to teleport back to pits. Not sure what happened there, if he slid off the track, but that's allowing a few more positions to be made up from the rest of the field. one interesting thing I'm not 100% sure of is if you teleport to the pits now, will that count as your mandatory pit stop being cleared or not? Will the game require, or the sim require you to drive into the pit lane of your own accord to actually have cleared your pit stop? That I'm not sure of. We'll have to keep an eye on and see if Jeremy de Villiers is really not having luck there and he's teleported back to the pits now. Possibly some also permanent damage, really struggling there. Back at the top now, Emile de Villiers still has Philip Minard on his tail, and just in front of him Mark van Rensburg. So these sort of top 4 cars, excluding Adrian for now, top position 2, 3 and 4, sort of well stuck behind each other. Looks like they might even be approaching some traffic now. I'm not sure what that 5th car is. Is there Mark van Rensburg at the front? Okay, I was thinking traffic. There's Emile de Villiers just behind him. And Philip, there was definitely... Actually, it's not traffic, it's just Tian Elof who's managed to make his way up to the back of these cars. So he's joined the train of the top 5 cars here. So they all make their way down the main straight now. All putting in solid 117s. Come on there, just putting in another lap. I've seen him just activate his push to pass, so he's possibly trying to make up for some lost time and again catch the rest of the pack up from the front before they scamper away too much. There's already about a 15-second gap though, so he's going to have to work hard to get around that. I do see that just in front of him is a fellow SimRace Extreme car that might be Victorious. It's indeed, or if they're already switched positions, so he might be trying to get a tow from him. And Fanico for Skytrim Racing, making his way around in 7th, keeping his nose out of trouble for now. On board with Mario Skimmin, he has indeed passed another SimRace Extreme car. I think that was Victorious at the time. Tian Elof in 6th now, just making use of his push to pass as well. You can see that green light blinking just below the T-cam. Oh, there's been an off here. Is that Philip? No, it's Emile de Villiers who's had an off and has allowed Philip to get around him. He just caught the tail end of that. I didn't quite see what happened there, but fortunately the damage in terms of overall track position hasn't hurt him too much. He's still able to hang on to the rest of this train here, but that did allow a couple of positions to switch around. As we see Charles Marais further down get in front of Maurice Krokam. Audio of Maurice. Just looking ahead to Charles Marais there. Back onto Philip Minard, currently in P3. Stuck in the middle essentially between Mark van Rensburg and Tian Elof right now, but Emile de Villiers, we know he's quick, he just lost that position momentarily, so we should see him attack and go back. We see sort of 2 and 2, each sort of driving in formation. They're trying to break any sort of tow or also defend the inside line. Somewhat aggressive move there to the end. Cel de Villiers just commenting there. I hope Emile stays calm after the off. Yep, that's the hallmark of a good driver really, is if you can make a mistake, but it's how you handle that afterwards. You know how the nerves keep calm. Oh, for a little bit of a drift there by Philip. Fortunately we see Jeremy de Villiers disconnect from the service. He's also had some difficulties, unfortunately. Perhaps hear a report back from the team what happened to him in chat. Barry shouting for BWR. Yes, your man Mark van Rensburg is still leading this train of of P2, 3, and 4. Doing really well for himself right now. Looks like he has 6 push-to passes remaining, which is equaling Adrian also on 6. Philip Minnaar has got 10 push-to passes in the bag, hasn't used a single one. So I wonder if he's just trying to keep them all in reserve until the end. Hasn't found he's needed them. Tian Elof has just used another to put himself on 5, so he's already used half his allocation. Ooh, a little bit of a kerfuffle down the main straight here as he's trying to go around the outside of Philip. They're side by side, neck and neck. Philip's just keeping his nose in front for now. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. Let's see what plays out here. Oh, a little bit of a contact again on that front nose. Have to see what... Oh, just how close they're getting now, and tantalizingly close, and there's massive contact. As we see Philip Minnaar unfortunately pull off into the sideways area. It looks like Tian Elof keeps going. Hopefully Philip can get the car going again and continue on his recovery drive. Oh no, he's just disconnected from service. He's decided that that was too damaging for him, and he's pulled in the plug, unfortunately. No doubt there will be some stewards' inquiries later. Yeah, Daniel, you're welcome to pull in, eh? Let's see if I can start the video for Daniel. Right, Daniel's rejoining in the pits just to join as a camera car. Tian Elof is up in 3rd now, with Emile de Villiers promoted to 4th, just with Philip exiting the server there. Mark van Rensburg, yes, certainly making BWR very proud right now on a solid 2nd. Hasn't looked troubled by any of the incidents going on behind him. Certainly been a little bit of chaos, and if anyone's been keeping a cool head right now, it's Mark. As we see Gerard Pretorius in the pits, so taking his pit window a little bit early. I think he's one of the first drivers to have pitted, legally that is. Philip here, we're just getting a report back from the driver. His engine blown going over the bump and hitting the wall. That was literally race-ending incident there. That's unfortunate, Philip. Yeah, better luck next time. We're certainly enjoying the battles you were having up front there with Tian, Emile, and co. Back up to 3rd now. Tian just still staying behind Mark van Rensburg. Just comparing the P2Ps right now, Mark's on 6 remaining, Tian 4, so somewhat similar, not too bad, not too much of a difference. Couple of position changes again down the field while drivers are making their pit stop. We see Maritz Krokamp has just pulled into the pits, as well as Josso van Rensburg has just entered the pits. So yeah, drivers are pulling those triggers, and we'll see a couple of people shuffling positions around. We'll have to see where they exit the pits, if they're going to be leaving into traffic or not. Sas van der Westhuizen, keeping his nose clean. Didn't see too much of him since the start of the race. Comfortably in 7th position right now. I'm sure he's eager to make a couple of positions up as well, as he keeps his nose down and consistency up. And for Nikik there, just making a position change while Nick Hudson's now in the pits. And Tian Elof is in the pits, so as the first of our front runners essentially has dived in. And let's see how that compares to Marius Skuman, for example, who is staying out there for now. Elof is just leaving the pits now, directly behind a Team Lotus Racing register, rather, car who dives out of the way. So yeah, exits in P6. Sas van der Beste is in just a second behind him now. Around about, what is it, T4 or so. So yeah, the pit stops certainly have meant the team, or the field rather, has spread out a bit. Keep an eye on Morris here. He's trying to get a toe tucked in behind one of the Skytrim racing cars. Slingshots himself around the outside. You can see the light flashing there for the push to pass being activated. I think it looks like Morris is certainly trying to push right now while he has sort of some clinging air, so to speak. It'll be very interesting to see when he decides to dive into the pits. There's still another 24 minutes of the pit window being open. So interesting to see if he's pushing hard now and then pits very soon, or if he's actually just going to keep this pace up, and how long he can for doing a late stop, a bit of an overcut on the rest of the field. No sign of budging from Adrian or Mark van Rensburg in terms of pitting right now. Adrian there all on his lonesome with about an 18-second gap down to P2 right now. So I think the pit stop window, you're probably looking at about at least 20 seconds lost in the pit lane. So he's almost enjoying a free pit stop right now. So kudos for the pace there. Mark van Rensburg, a solid P2, coming up to some traffic now as well. Of course, we do not have DRS on these cars. Skuma now, he is now 1.7 seconds behind Emile de Villiers, so he's managed to catch up, so to speak. There you go. Daniel, if you can hear me, I've got my video on in Discord, so you can view the stream using that perspective.
Thanks, Ryan, and welcome everyone. I wasn't expected to be sat here, that's for sure. I had a very entertaining 2 corners.
Shame that, Daniel.
But that's that actually hasn't happened to me in AC, but something that really weird has never happened to me in ACC, AC or any sim actually. I just lost gearbox. I couldn't change gears. I'd press the shifter and it would change like a second or 2 later.
Yeah, that's really weird. I'd be interested to hear maybe for some of the more experienced AC drivers if that's sort of an intended something that can actually happen to the car, or it was just an unfortunate glitch.
I tried to come in and repair it, and then I came out and again still the same. So on corners with 1 gear change I was fine, but when I had to drop down 4 gears I was just absolutely nowhere. So yeah, I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours in AC and that's never happened to me. So who knows? But anyway. Things happen, and they've still got a race, thankfully, but it was an absolute nightmare if you were mid-pack. I think you missed it maybe on the stream, but I come round turn 3 and like half the grid was just facing me the wrong way. So, yeah, there was a few people. That's why you've got some recovery drives. I know Nick Hodgson was in comms with me, and he also was caught up in it, as were probably, I don't know, 10 drivers were caught up in it. So, yeah, there's a lot of recovery drives going on, but it looks like the top field, who were just unbelievable pace, by the way, qualifying, insane. 15.9s without push to pass.
There were top 3 were into the 15s, which was pretty insane.
Yeah, that's outrageous pace. So respect for
Adrian
those
now
guys.
diving into the pits, so he's pulled the trigger essentially. So we'll see where he comes out. I think he was enjoying, I don't know how long the pit stop loses you, but he had about a 20-second gap, so he may have enjoying a free pit stop here.
Sorry, I'm just sorting out my, I'm getting out of VR and getting myself into this stream. Sorry, Ryan, I completely missed that because I got blasted by game audio.
No problem. We've just seen Adrian Nell from P1 dive into the pits. And that means that Mark van Rensburg is currently taking the lead of this race. However, Mark obviously still needs to pit. It looked like Adrian had about a 20-second advantage when he dived into the pits. I'm not sure how long you lose in the pit lane. You know, was that essentially a free pit stop?
It shouldn't quite be, probably 10 seconds difference. I'd expect them all to come in. This is exactly when I wanted to come in. I was going to split it 30 minutes because it's the tyres that are an issue, but also the fuel weight. This car with fuel is just unbelievably difficult. It changes completely on this sort of circuit. So we've seen Emil de Villiers, Marius come in, Adrian all come in exactly on that halfway mark. The other tactic you might want to look out for is the 45-minute mark, because if you come in for 45 minutes, getting just 15 minutes worth of fuel is effectively free with your tyre change. So we were umming and ahhing, seeing whether we could push to that 45-minute mark, and then you will save about 5 seconds in your pit stop, not waiting for fuel to fill up the car. So
that could be quite significant,
we were properly 50-50, but I mean, I was going to go 30 minutes, but then I'm sat here talking to you. I suspect you might see some people pushing and trying to get to that 45-minute and then pitting and then having a 15-minute splash and dash. So they'll be lightningly quick towards the end and they'll save 5 seconds. And if they manage to hold that time back, I mean, extra fuel weight was enough for me to not want to do that. But if they get there, then it's definitely a good strategy they could want to go for.
Well, I think I've seen most of the top runners pit already, with the exception of Mark van Rensburg. So let's see if he does do that essentially late overcut pit stop strategy.
Yeah, and if he was only, 20 seconds behind Adrian, you said? Was Adrian in first place at the time? Yeah. Okay. So he could at least claw back a good 5 to 6 seconds in having a shorter pit stop for sure. Might not be enough. So Adrian's obviously had some blisteringly consistent pace to pull that sort of gap in just the first 30 minutes, which is what we've come to expect from him in the last season of simGP for sure. Who else have we got? Emil de Villiers was incredibly quick in HLQ, but is down in 6th place, so maybe something's happened to him you could fill me in on.
Yeah, he had a bit of a coming together. It was around about the time with Philip Minot and co. Ran a bit wide. It looked like he ramped a curb or two, just dropped 1 position at the time. But yeah, seems to have stabilized essentially. Not 100% sure if he's pitted it. Unfortunately, this tower, unlike ACC, doesn't tell us if they've actually completed their pit stop or not. There's Mark van Rensburg. He's pulled the trigger into the pits.
Okay, so he didn't really, just put a tiny bit too much fuel in at the start, possibly. He's only saved 4 minutes, so he is going to be waiting for fuel here after his tyres. But if he's quick enough with his fingers and drops a couple of litres off of what he's selected, maybe sort of 40 litres instead of 45, he'll save a little bit of time as he comes back out. But the gap's saying 12 seconds, so overall net gain there of about 8 seconds if you said it was 20 seconds before he come in. And the car will feel so nice now on fresh tyres. After about sort of 15 laps in these, it starts going off. That front left, no matter what you do, just cooks. There's nowhere for it to settle down. It's just one of those circuits where the only main straight is not even that long. And then you're just constantly going around right-handers, cooking that front left. So every setup is a massive compromise. I just couldn't find a setup really. Some guys have obviously done a much better job than I could ever do. have managed to hook it up and keep that grip level up. But you're compromising somewhere, we found anyway.
Unfortunately, I saw there was another disconnection from the server. Mike LaRue from PWR, I believe, as well. So we'll have to hear from him or the team what happened to him there.
I'm not surprised because it's one of those circuits that a tiny little bit offline and you're off. And what's ironic is I tried to do a little bit of a race start practice just against AI. So you put 22 cars on the grid at 100%, and the AI drivers, out of about 15 attempts, crashed every single time in turn 3, every single one. So then I'm going, oh, well, it's just the AI. And then I go into turn 3 and half the field's facing my way. So it felt a little bit deja vu, I have to say. But yeah, quite funny, really. If you can't laugh, you'll cry.
See, I think this is the closest battle on track right now. Pretorius trying to find his way past Heinz Schneekirk.
Yeah, Pretorius had some good pace as well, I saw in practice service earlier. And it's all about consistency, though, in GP. One thing to do hot lapping, and they're great fun to hot lap, but the car feels so different with a lot of weight, fuel weight.
Yep.
And then different again when you've got no fuel weight, but your tyres are old. So you're just constantly just trying to find that grip and then not push it too much. So it's definitely a fine art. And if you do lock up or get those tyres cooked, it takes 2 or 3 laps for them to come back to you as well. So consistency is super important in these GPs. I did plenty of laps yesterday, completely feel wasted now, but
mentioning early on the broadcast as well, just how the conditions here on race day are quite different to what they were in HLQ, being a hell of a lot colder. But
yes, but that's very welcome, because I think if we had HLQ conditions, it would never be a one-stopper. I think it'd be a minimum of 2. Yeah, I mean, it would be quite interesting because you might have like 2 or 3 stops, because your tyres would be completely wrecked after about 10 laps at 30 degrees. And this is an interesting car because it's only got 1 compound, so you can only have softs. There's no mediums and hards. So that's great when they're on a track like this when it's cold and it's nice and quick. But I'm just imagining already that you'd end up somewhere like Laguna Seca and you put us at 40 degrees and it'd be like an 8-stop strategy. That might be quite interesting. Now I've told you that, Ryan, I'm thinking the calendar might get altered.
Yeah, well, look, we just seen
contact there by Pretorius.
He is waiting. I was going to say he's waiting offline, but there's a bit of traffic trying to make their way through there.
This is threading the needle there. I think Nick Hodgson had his eyes shut as he went through the middle of them. I would have been pushed to pass to try and recover.
Yeah, certainly. Unfortunately, Pretorius losing a couple of paces. Yeah, just going back to the weather. I mean, we do have, it's a 6-month season, essentially, roughly 1 race a month. And we try and at least influence the weather by real-life conditions. So, obviously quite cold right now in the Northern Hemisphere. But certainly it's going to warm up, around about April, May, June. We do have some American tracks in the calendar as well. Willow Springs and whatnot's probably going to be our hottest one of the lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how those race strategies change throughout the season.
I don't know Willow Springs too much, but Mosport, if that's hot there, that's going to be quite similar to here because you've got those massive fast sweeping bends. So maybe I'll join you in comms again, Ryan.
Hopefully not, and you can just keep this as your job round.
Wow. It's a great start. I haven't done a race here at SimRace South Africa for a couple of years, and it's the lowest I've ever started from the qualifying, and I lasted 3 corners. So it's only upwards from here, surely, people. Either that or I'll just try and drop myself into Division 2 and have a good time.
So we see Hannes van Beek here for BWR tucked in behind Charles Marais for the Lotus Register.
And when you're that close behind, I was doing some lapping with Nick Hodgson yesterday, and when you're that close behind on this back straight, this right-hander, which is just about flat, no longer is, because you just get a bit of turbulent air, and you've just got to remember to lift. So looks like, he lost some time there, didn't he? Van Beek lost some time behind there, but he definitely lifted, so that's better than running off wide, because that can catch you out the first time. If you've just been hot lapping and you haven't practiced running behind a car, that definitely caught us out, so it's good to see that has been the case between these guys in Division 1. Wouldn't expect any less. These guys pretty much prep for everything. I'm sure they prep starts, prep the best time to use, push to pass, everything. They don't leave a stone unturned here at the sharp end of the divisions.
Let's just see what happens now coming down the main straight. Oh, he's trying to go off around the outside, and that went very badly for him. And I'm not sure if he made contact with the wall there.
At the inside, I think he had a little contact there.
Must have been his car is now struggling, and he's limping towards the side of the track. In fact, he's limping into the pits. So I'm pretty sure he must have suffered some major suspension damage, probably. And he's literally crawling into the pits there. At least he's was at the pit entrance, I guess. But that is gone really wrong. Yeah, serious limping into the pits there, unfortunately.
I feel his pain. All right, I really do.
We see Nick here trying to make a move up the inside of T1.
Nick's got plenty of pace going around it in the 17s. He should be a quick guy because he is definitely slightly out of position. He was lapping quite comfortably low 17s yesterday in race trim. So yeah, on a bit of a recovery, but nice and consistent is Nick Hodgson. So I'd expect him to fight back from here. The only problem he's facing is he went with a high downforce setup. And I was on a low downforce setup, and when he was following me, he just could not pass anywhere, even though he was so much faster in that middle sector. But I just couldn't hook up that high downforce setup, so it's going to be difficult. And with only 10 push to passes, you don't want to use them. We call them sweeties, and we run out of sweeties quite quickly. And in 60 minutes, it's sort of like all my sweeties were gone after 20.
Speaking of who's run out of push to passes, I can see Hein van Niekerkrot now is in P10 but has 0 left.
Yeah, it's too tempting to use it, especially out of turn 13, as you're trying to defend from either behind or you're trying to make a pass. So you want those 10 push to pass, ideally, want to be out of the braking zone on the power of 13, and then you get the push to pass all the way down to the middle of the main straight, and it's basically an instant pass if you're close enough.
Yeah.
So that's where people want to be saving those 10 or using it to defend, and you can look in your rearview mirror and see that green flashing light. And if you see that green flashing light out of 13, you hit that button quick.
You want to counter it, yeah.
100%. If it's important to you and you don't want to lose that position, that's the only way to save it, really. But yeah, with only 10 to use over 16 minutes, it's quite a tactical. Yeah. I'm slightly upset that I didn't use any of mine. So I feel wasted. I could have at least just sat in the pits using them up because I've left a whole bag of sweeties in the pits.
We see a little bit of information from Philip Minot in the chat here. He's saying that if you hit the wall hard enough, your engine dies completely, and that's actually what happened to him, and why he was forced to retire.
Right. Okay. Well, I had sort of maybe half of that possibly, because I still had engine, but like no drive, and I just thought, wow, repair will fix it. And it didn't happen. It didn't even feel like a really hard contact. Really, I got spun round and some light taps, but nothing major. So very unusual. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's one of those things.
I see Charles Marais is still stuck in the pits here. I'm not sure if he's trying to continue to repair the damage or if he's just throwing in the towel, but it certainly seems like that's definitely race ending.
Crew camp also in the pits, so it looks like a few guys trying to either repair or unusual to see 4 DNFs already, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, first race of the season. Yeah, people finding their feet.
Obviously, I tried my best to continue, as I think everyone does, but it does get to a point where it's like, well, actually, if you're a danger to other cars, because you've got to drop it. But don't encourage DNFs. I'm the one that's always slagging drivers off, and here I am chatting to you. So if the repair doesn't work and for whatever reason you can't change gears, then fair enough.
At least you've made your attempts to get back out there. Yeah. So Ruben Kruger here for Skytrim Racing, still keeping ahead of Nick Hodgson for now. There is quite a substantial push-to-pass difference in the number of P2Ps they have left. Ruben only has 2, Nick has 7. So we'll see if Nick gets a little bit hungry and uses some up soon.
Marius Schumann just did his fastest lap of the race on the last lap, so he's a man on a mission with his fresh tyres,
Let's go back on board with Nick here. I just want to see as they round the final corners if he's going to get, if he's eager to make a move yet, or if he's just happy to sit behind Ruben Kruger for now.
He'll know how close he needs to be to make that push to pass work, and he wasn't close enough coming out of 13 there, so he'll wait another lap. So he knows exactly how close he needs to be because he tried against me, and if he's up against someone that's got low downforce, he realizes you basically got to be right tucked up the back of 13 for him and with his setup. He needs to be right tucked up the back and a push to pass squirt, and he'll have it done.
Well, I think that is certainly a move that's going to come in the next few laps. Fine for Nick as well, tucked in behind Kurt Pretorius.
This is definitely the closest battle on the track at the moment, though, isn't it? Nick Hodgson and Kruger.
Barry May asking in chat who has not been in the pits yet. Pretty sure the top, certainly 2/3 of the field is all pitted. If not
It does
everyone by
show,
now.
oh, we've got Murray coming into the pits, but I think that might be a repair. But yeah, it does sort of validate my thinking that the strategy of a sort of 30-minute boring 50-50 pit window was pretty much what everyone went for, because yeah, that's very wide. It looks that'll be affected by the turbulent air. He knows how important it is to be tucked up by 13. He's gonna have to regroup. But yeah, this was the window that I was expecting a few guys to try and brave it and see whether they could push to the 15-minute mark and then save on the pit stop. Because this car has a 125-litre tank. I mean, if you put that in, you basically feel like a school bus with
that's changing the dynamic of the car completely.
Well, at 45 litres, it felt horrific. So you could theoretically put 1.5 hours worth of fuel into this thing and carry on going. But I mean, you would be probably 10 seconds off the pace.
Doesn't make sense, yeah.
But it's interesting that the amount that you can save a lot of time by doing that and then not taking the fuel in the pit stop. But it's just so affected by that fuel weight that clearly no one's done it, at least on this circuit. Maybe when we get a bit of a circuit that's not so aero dependent, it might be a strategy to just put a bit more fuel in and just have a splash and dash at the end, just to knock your mandatory pit stop off. It would save you time. It's calculating whether that time save's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking a little bit further up the field here, Morris still holding P4.
Blistering pace from Nell as well, 117 flat race pace. That's very, very impressive. So he didn't put it on pole, did he, Adrian, now? But his consistency and quality from the last season or two from Sim Racing GP is really coming out once again in this first round in the 2022.1 season, because that's a mighty gap, and he's 3/10 a lap quicker than Mark van Rensburg, 18.8 seconds. Very, very impressive drive from Adrian now.
See T and Elof here having Grumpy Monkey car in front of him, but that's not full position, so I think he's come up to a little bit of traffic.
Behind Sas van der Westhuizen, I believe. Should be. There's only 2 Grumpy Monkey cars left now. I think the manager of Grumpy Monkey is going to probably give me a stiff first debrief tomorrow morning. Me and Philip are going to get a strong slap on the wrist. Us try harder is our first school report from Brett Crewcamp, but we do apologise. We will try harder. I hate Zandvoort. Anyway, Road Atlanta, come on.
Yeah. Certainly Sass holding him up there.
But I just found it interesting that because of the temperature change from HLQ to the race, I mean, I just found HLQ just entirely pointless. So I did my minimum laps just to get through, because the car felt so different. So I was interested to see the people that topped the HLQ times, those guys that are right up there, how they would, well, making sure that they'd done some cold weather racing, because the setup's different. You can go a completely different setup here. And we were slightly concerned that they would just be insanely quick, because we suddenly jumped to the cold times and would gain like a second. But they haven't. They pretty much stayed on the same pace that they had on HLQ. So they'd obviously just found a way to make it work in those hot temperatures.
Yeah.
That will obviously be good knowledge for them in future rounds, though. We'll have to still figure that out, because we've basically got no idea. But yeah, if they get a 30-degree track in future rounds, they'll already have that knowledge from HLQ that we've had this week. So Nick Hodgson's had to regroup. He dropped a second, and now he's back within half a second here of Kruger, but he's struggling to pass. It makes me feel that Kruger probably is running a low downforce.
What I have noticed is that Ruben Kruger has been using his push to passes very generously. He's down now to 1 remaining.
So he's going to run out of sweeties, isn't he? And Nick's going to notice that. Because obviously, as a car following, Nick can see where Kruger takes a push to pass, because you get a red flashing light behind. So if he pushes it really eagerly out of 13, Nick will just think, well, it's just not worth it. I'll save mine. I'll wait until another lap. So he'll be watching that Kruger is using push to passes, and if he's got one in his back pocket, he'll wait until that red light isn't flashing, and then he'll push it himself.
Yep.
A little bit like Formula 1. Do what the other guy doesn't do.
Do the opposite. Yeah.
Let me just have a look at Kruger's HLQ top speed, because that tells us what setup he's running. See whether we can work out whether Kruger is indeed on a low downforce. That'll be frustrating, Nick, like you wouldn't believe. It is very difficult when you've got pace and you're having to lift.
Here we go. We might have a move, yeah. Down the main straight. We're side by side. Nick maybe trying to go around the outside.
Yeah, he's practiced that on me. He did that to me yesterday. He's got it though, hasn't he? Yes, he has.
He's got it snipped in front.
Excellent pass. He practiced exactly that, and
Kruger's in the wall, unfortunately, there. Just getting a little unsettled following that pass.
Yeah, taking a line through two that you're not used to can definitely do that. Curb's also a nightmare through that corner if you just clip them. Yeah, so Nick, he practiced that exactly yesterday, trying to get through a low downforce car, went around the outside of me, and that was the way to do it. So a bit of knowledge there, and he moves on forward, but he's got quite a lot of time to now gain, hasn't he?
Yep. Just seen Sass get past time from Nico as well, so he's making his way up, trying to get into the top 10.
Yeah, so a few drivers having a bit of a lonely drive. Mark van Rensburg completely on his own in second, 21 seconds behind now, that just relentlessly keeps stretching.
Yeah.
Some big gaps forming throughout the field. Hodgson now has done his pass, but I don't think he'll have anything else to do for the rest of the race, because he's got a 22-second gap.
He just needs to keep it tidy and bring it home now, essentially.
Yeah, not surprising to see such big gaps, but I certainly wasn't expecting 20-odd seconds throughout the field. So there's some massive gaps, but I think it's been pretty eventful. I imagine we might be quite busy tomorrow as race stewards. I won't be involved in that one, hopefully.
Yeah, I may have to be drawing on myself and Jason for any rest of the number of grumpy monkey cars on the grid.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to go back myself and see what happened in that first corner. It was a bit of a mess. I think people slowing down. I hit a car as well, so it was just so many cars facing the wrong way. I went back on the stream and saw that it happened a bit further up from me, and then it just sort of had a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah.
That's what this track, unfortunately, has come to be known for. We had it last season, didn't we? In was it GT3 in Zandvoort? Was a little bit of a turn one mash-up in all divisions.
Fluff, yeah.
It's a bit renowned for it, so maybe we should have known better. But unfortunately, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Emil de Villiers is within a second of Marius now.
Yeah, just watching this battle develop. Oh, he's slid it and ramped the field, keeps it out of the wall, but perhaps just pushing a little hard there.
Did well to keep it out of the wall.
Oh, and he just gives it some beans before getting back on track.
He's going to have absolutely dead tyres now, Emil de Villiers. He just needs to just be patient and wait for him to go. I think that's the end of his. He just wants to. Thankfully, he's got a massive gap back to 6th place in Van Rensburg, so he can just take his time to nurse those tyres back. That was the other thing we struggled with. After about sort of 20 minutes, you get I was getting quite major vibrations through the front tyres. So obviously, even though I wasn't having no visual lockups, but you were starting to get flat spots, and it was very distracting down the main straight.
Yeah.
So these guys will be dealing with that. I don't think you notice it quite so much on the lower force wheels. It wasn't so much of an issue for Nick, but certainly Sass and myself were noticing it quite significantly. So Pretorius is now trying to poach on Kruger. Kruger want to make sure he finishes in the top 10 at least. It's a good showing. And from Pretorius, got quite a few new names that I didn't recognise, which is nice to see.
A lot of new names, which is great, and immediately up in the front.
Yeah, superb.
Some new competition.
Not that we needed it, but we've got some very stiff competition. I had a few names come through from Nick that he knew from his Lotus Racing has joined our
at least 4 or 5. So that's good to see.
Brilliant. But it's not too late to join because this can be your drop round, because it's going to be my drop round. So if you want to do the Sim Race GP and you think, well, this looks pretty fun, and I'm glad I don't have to do Zandvoort, the next race is Road Atlanta, and everyone loves Road Atlanta. So get yourself signed up, simracesa.co.za, and you can be joining me for round 2, which hopefully lasts longer than 2 laps. Here we've got Pretorius 0.2 behind Kruger now. He's really putting the pressure on, 5 minutes to go.
It's made up a lot of time. I was wondering if Ruben Kruger is nursing some damage after that off versus Nick Hodson earlier.
Yeah, it won't feel good on the tyres, but he should be able to get them back if you just run them sensibly and get them to cool down. Thankfully, they do cool down quite quickly with these temperatures.
Yes.
So that is good, but I think maybe he's just lost his rhythm a bit with all that defending to Nick Hodson, and all of a sudden he's got to defend to the next guy. So Pretorius is going to be trying to size up. First thing is trying to work out what downforce setup they're running. Then when you use your sweeties, if you've got any left with 5 minutes to go. Can we see whether Pretorius has got any left?
So Pretorius has 2, Ruben has 1, so not much between them.
Only 5 minutes to go. It's going to be pretty interesting. They're going to be vital, those push to pass, to see who finishes in 9th place.
Ruben's just used his now, so he's activated it down the main straight. You can see the green light flashing of Pretorius behind him.
They've both got it, but it's not enough.
Looks like Pretorius is just going to take this easy up the inside.
So that's a natural pass, really, isn't it? Because there was a net loss with both of them using their push to pass there.
Yeah.
And Pretorius has got one.
He's just gone off again.
Exactly the same, isn't it? It's up behind. He just loses it, doesn't he? Kruger in that turn 2.
Yeah.
So Pretorius has got a free push to pass to make sure he cements this place, but I think it's already done, isn't it? With a 0.6 of a second gap already, and 4 minutes to go. Looks like the grid, barring major mistakes, top 10 looks to be settled now, really, doesn't it? 42 laps. I think we calculated 46 or 47 by the time this race should be finished. I think I was fueled for 47 laps. I was obviously quite ambitious. I could have been so quick for those 3 corners. I just put 2 litres in.
So just looking at Sass now, he has the most number of push passes left of anyone. He's got 4. It's essentially one per minute.
What a waste, Sass. Get them laid down, my friend. Yeah, that's one every lap for qualifying, just to make yourself feel better. This is where he wants to squirt it here. As you come out of the get on the throttle here, you push it. And we'll see whether he's got his green flash. He has indeed. There you go. So there's one gone, and he'll be doing that for every lap for the rest of this race.
It may even be enough to catch Ruben Kruger for P10, who's 1.5 seconds up the road.
And we know hasn't got any push to passes left, and is a little bit demoralised.
Some damage too, So that could be game on for P10.
Someone in comms for Sass van der Westhuizen wants to let him know that this is quali mode. Strat 3, fuel map 2. I don't know what, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. So yeah, it looks a bit funny in the mist though, doesn't it? It's it was more bizarre when we were in snow and mist and the track temperature said 30 degrees. that was highly confusing. At least at 5 degrees.
More believable. Yeah.
Very much more believable. I have to say it's nice atmospheric conditions though. Yeah, so Sass took a good second out of Kruger in this half lap. So he's really raking him in. Kruger's struggling now towards the end of this race. Probably nursing a little bit of damage. His tyres are finished. And yeah, he's really pushing the boundaries. If you take too much curve there, you lose a lot of time. And he's got someone in his back. That must be a
he's trying to defend against him as well.
Yeah.
Looks like he's just lost that position as well. Perhaps someone just trying to unlap themselves.
I think he lost another half second there though, so he doesn't want to be, he wants to just concentrate, cement a top 10. He'd be highly disappointed in himself if he loses a place to Hodgson, Pretorius and Van der Westhuizen.
I'm not sure what happened to Sass now. The timing board is saying there's now 4.8 seconds. It was 1 point something just now.
No, he was, I had him at sort of 5.8 and he's dropped it. He has been catching, but yeah, he needed to catch at like 1.5 seconds a lap and a mistake from Kruger, really. We've got maybe 2 laps to go in this race. That's probably got 2 push to passes left.
Yep.
And he'll be using it out of both of the final corner exits. But yeah, bar a mistake from Kruger, he should finish in the top 10. And it looks like Nels let up as well, because that gap's gone down to 17 seconds, and it was like 24, 25. So Adrian Nell is just coasting this home now. Comfortable. That must be such a nice feeling. I wouldn't know. I haven't had it for a while. But having a sort of 25-second gap and just thinking, well, I can just coast this home. Don't have to worry about the fact that my tyres are feeling a bit worn.
So just entering the pit straight here. Sass has got one more push to pass left. 30 seconds of the race to go.
He's giving it everything. 18 flat. He'll be happy with that towards the end of the race on worn tyres.
Yeah. Taking chunks out of Ruben's time, but it may not be enough now. Got a late change here. Rob van der Heerwe in P13.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened between those guys. Flipping spots.
Yeah. As the clock runs to 0 now, Adrian is... Where's Adrian? There.
Bizarre, because the gap's back to 22 seconds. So Mark van Rensburg saw it drop to 17 and then somehow lost those 5 seconds again. So it's back to 22. Adrian Nell's had quite a comfortable race in the end. Obviously, he probably had an entertaining start, though, not starting on pole.
Yep. And he timed it well enough so he doesn't have to go around again. A bit of a celebration wiggle.
Yeah.
Nah, so the clock ran down to 0 just before he crossed the line, so...
Yes. Clever. There you go. Easy work from Adrian Nell. Great start to the season. He'll be super chuffed for that. He's the man to watch again in Sim Race GP. Mark van Rensburg, though, back in a GP car. Not seen him in a GP car before. Got certainly good pace for second place.
Excellent stuff, yeah.
And we got a newborn in third, haven't we?
Tianilov, yeah. Very new. And looks like he's doing some celebratory donuts over the curb.
I would be. I would be as well. That rounds out the podium, so that's a great drive. So congratulations to him, Marius Gruman in 4th position. And Milde Villiers in his first race in Sim Race GP as well in 5th.
Absolutely.
He's our HLQ leader, but it's still a great result. That'll be a good demonstration of how the race can be a little bit different from hot lapping, but still great showing to finish in the top 5 on your first race.
Absolutely. Looks like the entire field is now complete. We'll give it about 30 seconds, wait and see if anyone is keen to join us in the commentators booth of the top 3.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they feel after doing more than 3 corners. If they want to join us. Give me that experience. But apart from that, who's next? We've got simGT next week on a Monday, haven't we? So the first round of our ACC Championship, you'll be joining me and Nick Hodgson in comms. I won't be behind the wheel, guys, so you can all breathe easily. I'll be here doing the stream. So look forward to the first round of the ACC Championship next Monday night. And in the meantime, who have we got? We've got Adrian now joining us in
How's
comms.
it, Adrian? Congrats on your victory. The dominant one. You made
So,
it look easy, hey? How was that?
well, I was strike skipping. I'm quite tired. I'm not gonna. After the first time I pushed like it was a quali sesh.
Yeah.
I pulled a gap. But yeah, made a few mistakes. But yeah.
How was your start, Adrian? Was it all right? Because you can tell that I'm in comms, so my start wasn't particularly great. Behind you, I'm not sure whether you're aware, but half the field was facing the wrong way out of turn 3. So it looked like you front runners got a good run out, though, so you weren't affected. So how'd you get on from the start?
Well, I was actually quite surprised. I did some practice starts before we had the race, and found the trick to minimize the wheel spin, and then use the push to pass just to get past. And then after that, I went. I heard Marius and then in the team chat going crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you actually started on P2. It is Mark van Rensburg for BWR on pole, and you pretty much had him into T1, and then it was sort of clean sailing from then.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised about the race pace. Like really, I mean, I was doing 16.9s without the P2P, and then I did a 16.3 with the P2P, which is not too bad, I think.
I think it was Marius, your teammate, that was the first person facing the wrong way in turn 3, which had sort of a bit of a domino effect on about 15 other cars facing the wrong way. So yeah, we'll have to go back and look at it. I was certainly involved with it as well, so I'm not looking forward to that one. But it looks like quite a few guys did manage to recover quite well. But the secret was all about qualifying here at Zandvoort, wasn't it? Being such a hard track to pass on anyway, you got the business done in that 15-minute session, really.
Yeah, the pace is really strong with the guys this season. Like super. Like last season, we had it in lockdown, to be totally honest. And this season, all of us like in comms, like going crazy about how close it is, and it's good. We're pushing. We have to push this season. I think it's not going to be easy as last season.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
excellent. It's good to see. There's a lot of new names on the field this season as well. A lot of fresh blood, and they seem to have quite a lot of good pace right out of the gates. So yeah, good to see the competition.
I couldn't believe like 4 guys sub 16 without push to pass in qualifying. That was pretty insane pace really at the front. So it's going to be something to look forward to for the rest of the season. I think temperatures will be different, tracks will be different. So I'm expecting a bit of a shuffle, and there'll be people going up and down on finding the magic in the setup. But yeah, it's insane pace, that's for sure. Something to look forward to, Adrian. You look forward to it? You love a good battle.
I'm always keen for a good battle. Always close racing is what I'm looking after. But let's see. The guys are extremely fast, I'm telling you. We'll have to do some homework for the next race, definitely.
Speaking of the next race for simGP is at Road Atlanta. That is in a few weeks' time because we are now switching over to simGT mode and then followed by Sim Legends, the Maserati 250F 12-cylinder. So yeah, I think on that note, guys, we're going to wrap it up here for the evening. Be sure to join us next week. Congrats again, Adrian. And thanks everyone else for tuning in as well. And we'll catch you in the next race.
Cheers,
Cheers everyone.
Cheers.